change your story? You go.
Absolutely. Well, it's I can get very carried away when it comes to stories because I can pretty much say when it comes to story, everything that I have accomplished in my life, including my failures, because I fell a lot as well, and including my starting my business starts with a story. I had to come up with a story in my mind. How do I do this? And even having a business was a story I, put in my head, to come up with. So a story is very powerful. What you say to yourself, So it's not just before we go into how to change your story, you really want people. You gotta tell people what is a story.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like what is it?
Exactly.
And so oftentimes I look at the story. The way I define a story is very easy. I define it as think of it as when you making a perfect dish, right? So when you're making your favorite dish or you go ordering a favorite dish, it's got to have all the ingredients in it. You got to have everything have to be measured. Like the right amount of seasoning, the right amount of water, the right amount of this, so it comes out perfect. And as you get better at making your favorite dishes, you can master it, you can implement different things and make it better, right?
Exactly.
So that's how you build a story. For me, that's the definition of a story.
Exactly.
So to build a story, to write a story for yourself, you got to have the right component, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, all the right components has to be there. For instance, you got to have enough courage. You got to be in the right states. You got to be you got to strengthen your story. You got to be empowered. You got to have all the tools that's gonna help you move that story and make it a reality.
Exactly.
So and a good example, I remember with my last prep, I decided I was going to do it overseas. I completely was going to take the entire prep overseas. Because for work, I had to go to Australia and a couple other countries, and I was spending 2 weeks there, 3 weeks there. My body doesn't care where I'm at. My metabolism is going to work because within my stories, before I left the country, I made it to myself. I said, this is possible. This is what I'm going to be doing. I have to have courage. I have to have this is the decision that I'm going to be making. I take the bus every day. I walk, and, after spending 8 to 10 hours in the classroom, and I was still able, and what's so funny, that was my best physique ever. I ever brought up on stage last December. So, but had I had a different story in my mind, oh, it's impossible, it's this, it's that, then I would have a different outcome. You see what I'm saying? So your story is very, very, very powerful. What components you have? Like I said, if you making your favorite dish, you're not measuring everything. You just dumping stuff to cook your stuff to make it come out perfect dish. Then what's gonna happen? You're gonna have something that tastes horrible. You understand? So it's important to be in the right state of mind, have the right components when it comes to having a nice story. Same thing for business. When I decided to work for myself, it wasn't easy. But it was a belief. I had the right belief system. I had the right courage. I was determined. I had discipline. I was focused. All these components are important, but and then I made it possible. And as I realized how to do, how I master, I'm still mastering how to put a story together.
Let's hope
but
so.
I'm
We
getting
should always be mastering this. This is a never
yeah,
ending, right?
exactly. It's never ending. So I keep getting in better and better because now I went from training to a nutritionist, and then I keep becoming a coaching, and I keep getting better and better, and I see it in my income as well.
Yeah.
When I first started working for myself, the first income I ever made was $12,000 for a year, and the next thing I go up from 50, 75 to 7 figures and keep going. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. But because you gotta understand how powerful having a powerful story is. Now, if you have a crappy story, like what define a crappy story? A
Let
crappy
me
story
stop
is
you there. I'm sorry. I
yeah,
totally agree, but let me stop you there because the thing is, I always tell people there's history and then there's stories, right?
yeah,
Whatever happened to us, to any of us, is our history. And we cannot do anything about it because, you know, there are like a lot of people who don't get it. Like we believe some, I have people I work with that they think whatever happened to them is the story. And they keep telling that because that's not the story. Whatever happens to
mhm,
us, you, I, none of us can do anything with whatever happened to us, where we were born, what happened to us in childhood, what happened to us even a minute ago, even a minute
right,
now. There is nothing we can do about it. But stories are actually what you said, the dish that we make and we're going to eat it ourselves. That's exactly, like, I really
right,
like this whole dish analogy. But stories is whatever we're telling ourselves in our head and believing it. Sorry that I interrupted you. And another thing about your failure that you said, there's no such thing as failure. Even
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
failures are win. You know, I believe that I mastered. I have 2 black belts, one in failure, one in.
Well, well,
Exactly.
what I mean by failure, when you have a story you in your head, and you start having doubts and worry, it drives you into failure
Exactly.
because you walk away, you didn't succeed. That's what I mean by failure. Because if your story has all the wrong components in it, and like okay, I want to start a business, and then I have doubts. Oh, I don't know if it's gonna work. I'm worried. I'm doing this. That's failure. That's what I mean by failure because you don't have the right components
Yeah.
in the story, to support that. You
Again,
know what I
that's
mean?
another kind of
So,
story. That's like in negative stories that we tell
yeah,
ourselves to keep ourselves
exactly.
in that spot. Like, for example, one of the things that I personally was dealing with was I had to be perfect. You know, that's one of the stories that we tell ourselves, like perfection. And the moment you get into the perfection trap that you have to make everything perfect, you close all the doors to growth. There's nothing you can do, right? So these are
Right,
the negative stories that we tell ourselves.
right, right. Yeah, and that takes you to the right state of mind because that's in order for you to change your story, there's a few steps you gotta have. For me, I think you need to be at cause because when you on the effect, that's when you start blaming everybody else except for yourself. But what you don't remember, you are in charge of your story, of everything that happened. So that's number one. Number one is to be at cause. You definitely have to be at cause to say, well, you know what, whatever happened, I'm responsible for every
Exactly.
decisions, everything that I make.
Exactly.
And
Response able. You're able to respond to things when you take responsibility. That's the thing in the world,
right,
right? You are able to respond. And if we don't, I think that's one of the first steps to take
right.
responsibility.
To be, yeah. So in other words, you got to be at cause versus effects. Okay. So if you decide to put a story together and you on the effect side, you say, okay, well, I don't know if the economy is the right time to start this, or I'm
Exactly.
doing this, I'm not sure. You are on the effects. So number one, for you to change your story, you need to be at cause. And then number two, you got to have a strong why. The strong why means, like, it's got to be a powerful reasons why you're doing this. Like when I decided to go on stage, I said, I'm going to compete. My reasons are so strong. There's nothing that can come up and get me off. You
Exactly.
understand what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. I started to it's my own business. I have a strong why, a strong reasons. Okay, that's very, 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 very important to be.
You know, it's easy for you and I to say the why, but let me explain one thing. I
Yeah.
believe that the why comes always with the feeling. If you go deep, if you
Right.
if you ask your question why, and you find your why, and your why is usually whatever we do. I believe, as a coach, as a happiness coach, as a bodybuilder, as anything, as a human, I believe whatever we do is for happiness. And it, to me, my why is happiness, and I'm willing to do anything for happiness. Like the man who says the man who has its why can endure anyhow, right?
Right.
You are right. But like, to find your why, you have to find the feeling, the out, the end game. What are you looking for? What is, because again, some people, I ask people, why do you want this? I just want money. Why do you want the money? Why?
Right. Right. Right.
Because if
Right.
you don't know the why, then you want the money, but you won't move. You do one thing, you fail, or you think you failed, and you give
Yeah.
up, right? Or you
Yeah.
want a
Yeah.
business, and you try in this business, you try in that business, you do this, and you, after 2 or 3 times, you give up because you don't know the why.
Right.
The why is not
Yeah.
strong enough.
The why is not strong enough. And you're right. And there's two things you mentioned when people say to me they want money. Well, what my answer usually, well, if I give you $1, is that are you satisfied? If I give you $10, are you satisfied? Because you got to be specific in your reason. Your story needs to be more details. So yes, you want more money. Well, how much exactly do you want? You know what I mean? So that's important to understand. And your stories, you need to be very, very detailed, very specific. You know, I want more clients. Well, how many clients do you want? Is it once a month? One client is enough. If I give you one client, is that enough? You're probably gonna say no. So if you want, all right, maybe 5 clients a month. Okay, that's now we're going somewhere. You got to be more specific. That's why we call it measured.
Yeah.
So in your stories, you have to have all these components, right? And you also mentioned uh, emotion, feelings. Yes, you gotta be in the right state, which I define components. You gotta have courage. You gotta strengthen your stories. You gotta empower it. You gotta have discipline. You gotta have all this, and then once you have all the ingredients you need, all the components, you guard it. You know what I mean? Whatever you have whatever tools you need to guard your stories, and that's what it is. And you be in that state of mind to make sure you get all that done. So for me, I think the best way to change your stories, like I said, number one is be at cause and have a very strong why and be in a good state of mind. That's important. And I think I mentioned one. Ask the fourth one. That's important. You got to ask the right questions. That's extremely,
Yes.
extremely important.
And you have to be honest
So
with yourself. Sometimes
yeah,
we ask questions, like, for example, let's see somebody, if you're always noticing what you're noticing, you have to be very alert all the time. And like, if somebody makes you angry, instead of doing, just react. If you stop yourself and ask yourself, why am I angry? Why is this making me angry, for example? Or why do I want to react? I always tell my clients, you have to be your own mother. You have to be kind. It's such a paradox. You have
right,
to be really nice to yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to let yourself off the hook. Off
right,
the
right,
hook part is that let go of being perfect. Let go of your perfectionism. Let go of trying to make everything be perfect. Just do it. Take one
yeah,
step
right,
and let fail. But at the other side of it is that you cannot let yourself off the hook too easy, because let's say you're sad and you're just crying. Yeah, somebody broke my heart. Oh, I'm crying, and I'm gonna take this. That's gonna be my story. The story of someone. Oh, someone broke my heart. No one will ever love me, and I will take that. I have clients. She went through a breakup 7 years ago. 7 years ago, and when I talked to her, it's like it happened yesterday, because this is the story she's been telling
she,
herself, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, that's
then
not good.
exactly, and then she tells me another bullshit thing that I always think I tell people. The stories we tell ourselves: I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm just, my life is harder than anyone else. And
Yeah.
I'm just not the happy type. I'm not brave like you. Like she told me, like, I saw you and I love you. You're so brave, but I'm not
Yeah.
brave like you. And I was like, you don't need to be brave like me. As long as you think that you have to compare yourself with someone else, you won't go anywhere. You just need
That's right.
you just need to take the first step. We're all the same. We're all the same. We have 24 hours. No matter what happened to us till yesterday, none of us can change, right? Too old and too young is just the mental, again, another story. These are negative stories that we tell ourselves, right? And then another thing that I had this trap with me. I thought if I ignore it, it will go away. I would just
Right.
say, okay, if I get this, this would be great. And if I get this, but actually it was me being lazy and not taking responsibility and staying in my comfort zone, a comfort zone that wasn't even comfortable. Most of us, if you look at yourself, if you don't like where you are in this trap that you don't want to move, you don't want to risk, you don't want to, you're not, we have to, one of the most important things that we have to do when we want to change our story, we have to be willing to be uncomfortable.
That's right. Be courage.
Uncomfortable in
Yeah.
order to grow. And let me tell you again, out of my own experience, is not a question of if, it's a question of when. Because you are a soul and you want to expand. Your soul wants to grow and wants to expand. The human in us is all the fears, is all the negative boundaries, is all the chains that are holding us back. And it's all like, the more you hold yourself back, the more the soul in you want to expand. And you will
Right.
come to the point that there is no other way than pain to grow. And
Right.
I believe that you can choose the other side. You can choose to grow in insight and in happiness. You don't need
Right.
to wait. Again, I'm telling this because I did. I waited so long that there was no other way than just excruciating pain that I deserved. I deserved. And I love it.
Right.
Even when it was gone, when it was finished, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should have more. Maybe I should grow more. And then I told myself, no, stop it. This was my story.
Right.
I told myself that I have to go through pain to grow. But from the
Exactly.
moment that I changed it, from the moment that I told myself, nope, done, everything is going to be easy. Dickens, everything is so easy. Sometimes I feel like I'm dream, like it's not sometimes, all the time. It's all like a dream. It's so easy. Yes, I do work. Yes, I do all the things that I did before, but everything is just easy just because I tell myself. And the moment that I feel like maybe it's too easy, I said, no, it isn't. You deserve this. You deserve this.
That's right.
And this is one of the things that I've taught myself. I think one of the biggest step that we have to do, we have to examine our habits. We have to become the observer of ourselves. We have to take focus from everyone and everything else and focus on you. Like, for example, if you see something that bothers you, instead of pointing that one out, go in. That's what I did. Go in and see, why is this bothering me? If you're jealous, why somebody else's happiness make me jealous? Why somebody else's ignorant make me mad? And examine your feeling and be honest. Just be brutally honest with yourself.
Right. Right. Well, I completely agree, and I think all the stuff you just mentioned is, and including the examples that you mentioned earlier about people, that's definitely, the first steps. You got to go. People that are saying certain things to themselves like this, blaming everybody else, they need to shift from effect to cause. That's very important. You know what I mean? Because when anybody that's on the effect side of any equation or any stories, they're always blaming anybody, always pointing fingers except to themselves. But the problem is you are in charge of your universe. You really are.
Yeah.
It's just, because if you don't think that the environment will take charge for you, will lead you where you should be going. But when you're at cause, you then everything becomes so easy, like you said, so clear, it's like night and day. Like you could do it. I can do this. I got this. You know. So to me, I might cause in every decision I've made in my life, every everything that I've done, every single thoughts, whether it's bad or good, I'm in charge of that. You
Exactly.
know, yeah. So that's very, very, very important. You know, and like I said, you know, I've watched my patterns in my life. You know, I've seen my success in certain areas, in certain things. You know, so I try to condition myself to repeat that. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So,
Like
the
bodybuilding. You're right.
yeah,
Yeah. Talk about
yeah,
the conditioning. That's like one of the things. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. So I condition all that good stuff so I can repeat the steps, you know. And the fourth thing that I mentioned earlier is the question that you know, to change your story, you got to ask yourself the right questions. So since you in bodybuilding, like just like me, I'll give you an example. Um, every day we got to go to the gym and train 5 days a week, no matter what.
Exactly.
Is that a should I work out today or I must work out? So there's a difference between should and I must. So for me, in my stories, the word should does not exist.
Exactly.
Okay, so oh yeah, I must go. I have to do this to
I
feed my
got to do
family.
this. That's what
I
I do.
have to.
I
So
say
it's a
I got
must.
to. Yeah. Instead of have, I say I got to. I'm
Yeah,
so lucky. Like sometimes, like not right now with all social distancing, I work at home, but like I've been with friends and I leave and I tell them I got to go to gym and they were like, we've never seen
yeah,
anyone love going to gym because it's my job. Like so, you say I must. There is no
yeah,
should or yeah.
yeah. So that's extremely important versus should and must, because must is a much very powerful statement. It's strong. Then you're like, there is no if. I think you have time to think about it. You know, but if I say, oh, I should do this, but I know I should do this, but I'll do it later. I know I should do that. I should create more content to get more business. I'll do it later. I should belongs in the effects. It belongs into that story that's never going to take you anywhere. But as soon as you change those components, I call it components, you know, and like I said, you know, for things you need really to change your story, it might be there. There's definitely some more stuff, but those are the four major things for me I realize. You got to be at cause. You got to have a strong why. Why is it you doing what you're doing? Why is what's the powerful reasons behind it? It's got to be a powerful reason,
Yeah.
you know. And then you got to be in the right states. You got to be in control of your states. You know, don't be jealous of someone else. Don't don't let your ego take the best of you. You know, and so on and so forth. You know, and then you know, don't go into, well, I should do this. Ask yourself the right questions. The right question is important versus I should go to work or I must go to work. You know, when you get a job, when you have a job, you don't say I should. You got to get your ass up every day, regardless whether you don't want it or not. Well, it's the same thing when we're in prep for about, I would say, a good 16, 20 weeks.
Yeah.
Within that gap, that 16 weeks, there is no I should train. I should eat this. It
Even in
don't matter
off
if it tastes
season, there is
good.
no should.
Yeah, there is no should. It really is. That's why I said that once you learn that, you condition yourself
Yeah.
and apply it to different things that you do in life. So the food can be cold, man. You know what? I have to eat now to refill whatever it is. The time's up. I'll eat it cold, whatever I got to, because I must eat. I have to do that. You understand?
You were right.
So so these are the key components. I think if you master those, you can change your story very easily. It's not, is it easy? I think it is easy, but it's going to take some work.
Yeah.
It's going to
I
take some work.
You are right. And I think one of again I bring up bodybuilding and prep is because you weren't like this your first prep or your
Right.
second prep. You become it's a habit. You make it a
Right.
habit. So I I think there are steps. What you said are all the right steps. I always say these are my steps. This is what I did. Examine your habits and make a list of everything that and be objective. You have to be objective. It's like, imagine it's your little brother or sister or someone else. Write it down, all the bad things that you do, all the habits that you don't like, and make a list of the habits that you like. And then try to replace them. And you cannot do everything at once. It's one step at a time. And it's all practice, day in, day out, day in, day out. And I always say, pick one habit, do it every day for 7 days.
Right.
Week 2, add another habit and do it, those 2 for 2 weeks, and so on. Each step by step, and give it 90 days, everything changes in the 90 days. But again, make yourself accountable. You have to make yourself accountable for all the things that you have to do. Make a list, do it, and then you have to surround yourself with good people. You know, sometimes our friends I personally love them a lot. We all love our friends, but sometimes you have to take a look at the people around you and change your environment. Surround yourself with good people. Get a mentor, get a coach. Not that because I'm a coach, but I really believe in coaching. I really believe in mentoring. And again, get out of your comfort zone. And the most important in my view, is acceptance. You have to accept knowing that grief is like this raging river, and you are like this stone that is sharp on this edges and stuff, but the moment you set foot in this raging river, it's going to take you to the next step, and eventually it's going to take you to this open land that is so beautiful, and you look up and you see that everything is okay, everything turned out great, and because you accepted it, because you set foot in this raging river, you're not that stone anymore. You are this crystal clear, beautiful stone. And that's the thing, that you just have to take the first step. You just have to, whatever you're dealing with, whatever your story is, whatever, just know that you're so much bigger, so much stronger. You're unlimited. And the only thing that holds you back is you. So take the first step.
I strongly I agree with you, and especially I don't think you can do this without a coach. I have been getting coached myself for over 12 years, and the reason why I sharpen my story and I'm able to show you and talk about it is because I had to get some help, even though I have become a coach over 12 years ago. And without a coach, I wouldn't know how to sharpen my stories, because there were times I created a goal, a story. I said, okay, I want to do this, and then I find myself falling into sadness, depression in the story, because I start questioning myself. Oh man, I don't really believe in it. I started am I really gonna do this? And I go straight into sadness. Sadness meaning that there are different types of sadness you can go into. There's one you can go into conscious, where you're aware of it. For me, the worst one is when you go into at the unconscious mind, when you're not even aware of it. It becomes physical, and
exactly.
So it's definitely not good. So I had to learn to master these things and say, okay, this is the components I need. This is the components that's bad for me, because sometimes you're not aware of it at all. If you're gonna go into a different, maybe it could be fear, it could be sad, it could be depression, it could be whatever.
Yeah,
in your story, because you're so worried, you're distracted, you're not sure, but a coach, you have to look at it as a side view mirrors. That's gonna say, hey buddy, you're going in the wrong direction here. You gotta try to get back, wake up, So, and I have learned a lot of stuff that I was doing, and that's why I said in the beginning, some of my, my success and my failure are part of the stories I've created, because there are time in my stories when I go back, I realize, oh, okay, this was what I was doing. I was constantly going into bad states and negative states, and I didn't even understand what it was, how to fix that. But having a coach, just to give you credit for what you're saying, it's important to have a mentor or a coach, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
to get to acknowledge you, to say, okay, listen, I know where your destination, but this right now, that turn you just made is not gonna do any better. You got to go back and go back and focus into your goal. So it's important to have someone to guide you, like I have. I've
And I
always have.
promise you, even your coach has a coach. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
We
Yeah.
all need
Tony
someone.
Robbins has it. Absolutely. I agree.
Exactly.
Even Tony has a
Yeah.
coach. Yeah.
We all need a coach. I always say, I have a coach. My coach has a coach.
Yeah.
Your coach has a coach.
We need that. We need to hold each other hands so we can go somewhere. Because it's not that easy. Even the most successful people have a mentor. They have a coach to help them. Um, I I always have a coach. Regardless how what type of coach it is or whatever it is that I'm looking for. I need somebody, I need directions. You're absolutely right. You do need that. It's important because sometimes you're not unconsciously, without the awareness, you're not sure if you're making the right decisions or not, if you're going the wrong way, the wrong path or not. So you need somebody in the rear side view mirrors to tell you, hey, listen, buddy, wake up. You're falling asleep behind the wheel here. You got to go this way. That goes straight. So it's important. That's very important. So I hope your viewers understand the 4 steps that we just shared.
They
with you
will,
all.
and we will.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna bring it all together now. 30 minutes is off, but we can continue next week for more, because I think I believe that changing your story, we can go deeper in it, and we can.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about the negative stories that we tell ourselves, like being perfect, or I'm too old, and I will list it, and I think we should go deep into that and how to get away from. How do you get away from perfectionism? How do you get away from all those negative stories that you tell yourself? And yeah, I think we should just continue this next week. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. All right.
Bye.